Well, I continue to refer to 2015 for similarities to 2023 so far, and certainly the month of July is turning out fairly similar in terms of an upper air setup, but very different sea surface temperature profile, folks. We have got a very, very warm North Atlantic at the moment, and of course, the overall sea surface temperature is much warmer than they were back in 2015. But we had the El Nino year, of course, then we also had a similar, not exact, but similar solar situation back then as well, where we were around the maximum. We are about 18 months roughly away from the maximum at the moment. But it's incredible how similar we are seeing the pattern this July versus 2015. So thanks for clicking on to the Friday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Do indeed hit the like button, share with your friends and family, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I do greatly appreciate that. And yeah, this is the current sea surface temperatures globally at the moment. So we've got, of course, the developing El Nino over the eastern equatorial Pacific. We will look at winter next week. So stay tuned for that. And that is another reason, if you like winter and you haven't subscribed, do indeed subscribe, because I will be touching on various aspects and drivers with regards to the winter season. I know it's a long way off, but of course, right here in markvoganweather.com, we do not switch off. We are always looking at the big picture, the global picture, to see what is taking place, and also the developing stages of a new season. So of course we're halfway through summer season. The wheels were in motion with regards to planning this season all the way back to the end of last winter. And of course, with being in the midpoint of the summer, I'm already looking towards the upcoming winter season. Could be some very interesting things to look at, that's for sure. So this is the July of 2015 upper tropospheric situation here. So you can see that we've got this big negative here extending from the northwest of Ireland and the UK out over the North Atlantic. Here we've got the strong positive. Now remember, this is the lower tropospheric profile here, so this is the difference in temperature compared to average within the lower troposphere. And you've got a situation here where you've got that negative to the west northwest of the UK, the strong positive over the heart of Europe here, and it's very similar to what we have now. The one big difference, folks, is that the water temperatures over the North Atlantic in July of 2015 was much colder than they are now. We had very warm waters to the west of Iberia over the Mediterranean versus cold waters over the North Atlantic, and I think that did drive a very extreme month indeed. And this was the scene at the Open in St Andrews back in around this time back in 2015, and you can see that they're sweeping that water off the course at St Andrews. We had very windy conditions across the golf course at this point in time as well, where you had wind gusts almost of 50 miles per hour. Very windy conditions, strongest summer winds in 19 years potentially for the UK, possibly even longer. This was the 2 meter temperature anomalies for the UK back on one particular day last July. We had a very extreme month, and while this month may be disappointing, like I said yesterday, people thinking that it's the coldest, the wettest, whatever, it is not. We had a very extreme July in 2015. We have got similarities. We, of course, remember we had that system in 2015 at the end of the month, sweep wind and damaging wind at that, rain across the Netherlands. We've seen that about 10 days ago. Remember, we had a very similar situation, albeit I think this event was stronger than the 2015 event for the Low Countries. And indeed, here in the UK, on the same weekend that we have the Open at the Hoylake in the Wirral. Thanks to Mark Kinnish for reminding me that it was the British Open this weekend. We have got a stormy situation. So this is another similar aspect to back in 2015. We've got two areas of low pressure, jet stream coming out of the northwest, another arm coming in from the southwest. We've got all that bundling of energy. And of course, as these two areas of low pressure merge we see the pressure drop. We've got, of course, that canopy that we're seeing currently. If we look at the satellite image here, this is the current situation. So we've got that developing area of low pressure. The centre looks to be just to the south of Ireland. We've got very cold air coming in off Greenland. We've got warm air coming up over Iberia, France, and into the central portion of Europe here. All the dynamics coming together, and of course you've got 2, 3, 4 Celsius above average sea surface temperatures. That is going to be enhancing the upward motion, the lift within the atmosphere, and all the dynamics are coming together very nicely indeed here. So a very nice satellite presentation. This is, of course, the radar currently as of recording at 20 to 5 in the evening. So we've got quite the washout. Northern Ireland, parts of the Irish Republic. We've got it across southern Scotland, the bulk of England, and we are now starting to see the rain clearing away from the majority of Wales. So we'll go back to the overview chart here, and you can see as we skip through the next 24 hours, there's that arm, that band of heavy persistent rain, strong winds. The centre is now starting to tighten up, so we're seeing the central pressure dropping, and it's all eyes on that heavy rainfall, very heavy rainfall driving in off the North Sea into eastern portions of England, Wales, should I say more Scotland as opposed to Wales. All the while that centre continues to deepen, and then we've got strong easterly winds coming in on the north side, we've got strong winds coming in on the south side, and as that system peaks in energy, we've got a particular squeeze in the isobars across possibly the south of Ireland, but it looks as if it's maybe more over the open waters to the south. But across England and Wales, we've got a real squeeze in the pressure field here, indicating that we've got some very strong winds in excess of 50 miles per hour. We're already seeing that in parts of the Welsh coastline. But also we've got the tremendous instability within the atmosphere. So we've got ingredients in place for heavy thunderstorms, very strong winds, possible funnels, even tornadoes with this situation here. It is a very, very unsettled Saturday afternoon to come. And then as we press through into Sunday, it looks as if that area of low pressure kind of lifts a little bit further north, but we have got a cool north to northwesterly wind blowing down the west side of Scotland, England, Wales, across Ireland and Northern Ireland as well. And certainly it looks as if it is going to be a rather blustery, cool, showery open to the Open at the Royal Liverpool course. This is at, like I say, at Hoy Lake in the Wirral. Thanks again to Mark for reminding me about this. But isn't it ironic, some of the things that we're seeing this year versus what we've seen back in 2015 with regards to the Open at St Andrews? Hopefully we won't see scenes like this, like we've seen in St Andrews in the next few days here. It looks as if it's not going to be just quite as extreme. But we started off the month of July at record-breaking levels, hottest July temperature ever recorded, I believe. But we also seen windy conditions, 50 mile per hour gusts at Blackford Hill, just in the outskirts of Edinburgh. We had 75 mile an hour winds, both at Anarchmore and other places along the coast. We had a wind gust of 91 miles per hour recorded on top of Cairngorm Summit in the Central Highlands. That looks as if that was the strongest wind gust in 19 years for this particular site. We had also temperatures of 29 Celsius at Aviemore, but also, and this will not happen this year, I believe, and the reason why I don't think it's going to happen is because we've got very warm sea surface temperatures compared to average, but we had record-breaking cold daytime maximums back then as well. Aviemore, for example, only reached 11 Celsius. We had only 12 Celsius at Glasgow. That just missed the record by 0.3 Celsius of the record of 11.9 Celsius, I believe, back in 2001. That was the coldest temperature ever recorded in July in Glasgow. And we had also record-breaking cold temperatures in Edinburgh. Gogarbank, for example, had the coldest overnight minimum for July on record, and we had coldest maximum temperatures as well. For example, at Edinburgh Botanic Gardens, the maximum it was only 12.1. That didn't break the record but I believe we did see some places reach the record. Charterhall in Berwickshire, so the borders, a maximum of only 10.11 Celsius, surpassed the record of 11 set back in 1997. Like I say, we had incredible heat. We had a temperature of 36.7 Celsius recorded in London. We also had 39.7, Paris' second hottest day on record. So we had a remarkably hot open to the month of July back in 2015. Remember, of course, we did have 32.2 Celsius at the beginning of the month. We also had snow in parts of the Highlands. This was Drumoctor Pass, by the way, on the A9. This was back on, what day was this? This was back, I believe, in the 2nd of June. No, this should have been July. This might be the month of June, in fact. Sorry. The early portion of June had snow at Drumoctor Summit. We didn't have that in July. I'm getting a wee bit confused here. But I'm just trying to show you the similarities, but also the perspective that this is by no stretch of the imagination an extreme month when it comes to weather conditions here. So this is the 2 meter temperature anomalies for the month of July so far. Of course, we've reached pretty much the midway point. Temperatures are average to slightly below average across the bulk of the UK, especially England, southern England and Wales. We've got slightly warmer than average, east coast of Scotland, the north of Scotland as well, above average. But you notice here this warm reflection, this warmer than average over the surrounding sea surface temperatures. That is going to keep the temperature above average for the month of July, I believe. And of course, we've got these very warm waters surrounding the UK, keeping those temperatures up. So similar type of lower tropospheric temperature profile this year versus 2015, which is quite interesting, of course. And yeah, very interesting stuff overall. So like I say, this is the current radar. We are going to see this canopy of heavy rainfall continuing to track northwards over the next 24 hours or so. So let's have a look at the 850s, because we of course have that heat like we've seen in 2015. We have that heat over the continent. That will start to get pushed a little bit further east. So you see, of course, the circulation skirting the south coast of Ireland, cold air coming in on the backside, warm air lifting north ahead of that feature. You notice here that the UK is not in anything particularly warm as we play through the sequence here. In fact, we may even flirt with the 0 Celsius at 850 into the early portion of next week. All the while, we've got very hot conditions. The Mediterranean, central and eastern portions of Europe here. And again, we've seen this similar back in 2015, but not just as extreme. So the cold air continues to drift south during the course of next week from the north. Heat very much restricted to the south and central portion of the continent. And it looks as if we aren't going to get in anything particularly warm all the way through to the 24th of the month. The NAO, interesting enough, is very negative, as we know, but it looks as if it's heading towards neutral towards the second half of this month. Now, I'm not going to hold the cursor over this chart, but it is rather interesting. This is the meteogram here, so this is the next 10 days for 850 temperatures over London. Now, you notice here we're below average, then we go above average slightly, then we drop back below average, and as we press through the final 10 days of the month, it looks as if we have near average 850s over London, and then the general overall consensus, so this is the GFS ensemble, shows that we may try to see a little bit of an uptick in 850s towards the very end of the month. And I've already explained to you, with the Mont-Julian oscillation progressing into the Pacific, we may start to see a little bit of a shift in the overall pattern. But it looks as if we remain in the unsettled theme for the foreseeable future. So thanks for watching. No video, of course, tomorrow. I take Saturday off, but I will have a big global weather and climate report edition 50 coming up this Sunday. So stay tuned. Be sure to hit that big red button and hit the bell for the notifications of each upload so you don't miss out. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you again Sunday with more. Bye for now.